Well, Clifton Scott was a state auditor inspector, and somehow he heard I was trying to open up a food waste recycling plant. And he called me about 11 o'clock at night and told me who he was. And he said there's $12.5 million out to NODA. And for me to go out there and put my paperwork in. And when that paperwork hit my desk, he would sign it and give me $50,000 to start this business. So I went to NODA and met Larry Tibbs, and I filled out the paperwork, and I qualified. So Larry Tibbs drives to state capitol, introduced himself to Larry Clifton Scott, and asked him, could he look at some, constitutional acts. So what he did was he picked out a constitutional act of 1907 and added it to my paperwork and disqualified me. So Larry Tibbs called me up and said, Brian, we got some bad news. We need you to come down here to NODA. So I said, okay. So basically I walked in and he handed me this constitutional act of 1907. I said, where'd this come from? I ain't never seen this. He said, I adopted it and you disqualified. I said, excuse me? I said, you gonna just adopt something and add it to my paperwork and disqualify me? He said, yes, I am. I tore his office up.
It sounds like, to me, something happened without due process.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I tore his office up because I wanted to be arrested, and we're going to go to court. Well, the police got there, and they talked to Larry Tibbs, and they just told me to leave the building. I was banned from the building. I said, no, you have to arrest me. No, we're not going to arrest you. You just leave this building. So they pushed me outside the door and locked the doors. So then, I think I did some TV shows, and I was telling everybody, and Kathy Stoker and Michaels, they all got together and they put me under surveillance. And I had a best friend of 25 years. His name was Brian Dupas. And Brian Dupas was on 3 years probation, and he had 3 months to go. Well, sometime in the night, they went to his house and arrested him, Brian Dupas. Took him to the police department and told him he had a choice. He was going to have to start over on his probation, but he was going to have to go to prison, do his time in prison, or he can put on a wire and set me up. And Brian chose to put on the wire and set me up. He set me up with $140 worth of crack cocaine. And they patted him on his back and said, good job, you can go home now. And he went home and shot and killed himself. Yeah, same night, they let him go home. He went out in his pickup and put a gun to his head and shot himself in the head and killed himself. Well, his wife called me and told me Brian had just shot himself, and I was like, why would he do that? I don't understand. Why would he do that? And nobody knew. And I went to the funeral, and I just didn't understand why this man with everything would kill himself. Then 10 days after the funeral, they surrounded me up there on 10th and Garriott and said, we told you we was gonna get you. And I said, what are you talking about? So they arrested me, took me down to the police department and played the tape. I flipped out. And I told them, I said, you know, your witness is dead. And so there's no case. And Perry told me he said that's true, but he's gonna fix it and make me use the appeal system to get out. And he gave me 20 years. Yeah. And so they hauled me to Lexington, and as soon as the guy that was interviewing me read this, he's like, who did you piss off? My God, 20 years, your first offense, $140? What's going on here? And they sent me to next to death row, from Lexington to next to death row. And I did 7 years. It took me 7 years to get out. And they told me don't come back here. So a guy, I can't think of him, he was my unit manager, great guy. I mean, I love him to death. He came down there next to death row and told me to pack my stuff, and he was gonna take me to his unit, F3. He said, you're going home December the 14th, 07, no matter what. There's no place for you. And I said, okay. So the governor was Brad Henry. And I wrote Brad Henry a letter and told him that I was told not to come back to Enid, but I'm going back. And I told my family, don't worry about nothing. And I told him that basically he was gonna escort me back. He was gonna give me an escort back to make sure I got back here safely. I told him they was gonna put me on a bus from McAllister to Oklahoma City, and when I get off that bus, have my escort there. And if my escort ain't there, I'm gonna secure my stuff and I'm gonna come up there and knock your windows out and tell everybody what you done. Let me tell you, that was one long ride that from McAllister to Oklahoma City. I figured the feds, you know, I just threatened the governor. And I figured the feds was gonna be there, but I can't think of his name now. But when I got there, he had a card in his hand with my name on it. And I said, I'm Byrin Carr. He said, well, the governor asked me to escort you back to Enid, but are you hungry? And I said, yes. So he said, you can go anywhere you want to go. And we're going to have a long talk. So basically, that talk was Clifton Scott and some other people that was involved in this case been moved around, and everybody's untouchable. And they said they're sorry about my friend killing himself. And
if I may interrupt too, I have to wonder if that suicide was valid. If you say that the police plant things, I'm pretty sure they can set up a suicide too.
Well, yeah. On that point, Brian called me on the phone and told me he did something real messed up and he wanted to tell me, but he said the police are driving up and he'll call me right back when they leave. Well, he was dead when they left.
Make sure he stayed silent.
Yeah.
I want to say to the viewers too that it sounds like I'm taking a biased view about the Enid City Police, but I've had my own run-ins with the city police, including one police officer that came up, told me I couldn't shoot a BB gun at a rabbit. And I said, well, I've got a garden and I don't like rabbits in my garden. And he was saying to me that I needed a license to have a vegetable garden in my yard. Anyway, that's one of the reasons why I carry my camera around. I've had a policeman tell me on a different occasion that he didn't want to be filmed. He shined a bright light into my camera lens, and I had to inform him that I was still recording audio in any case. I feel like I'm being left alone only because I do carry a camera, and everything that a policeman does, whether he likes it or not, will be filmed and the audio recorded. So as far as the policemen go in Enid, I don't doubt your story at all.
Well, I don't have no reason to lie. Well, anyway, where was I at?
You were, I forgot to.
You did too? Oh, well, anyway, after I came back, I think in 2000 and, I think it was 2008, I went to the city hall and introduced myself to Joan Rowley. When I came back, I had to figure out what did I want to do? What place did I want to be? So, you know, I was raised up out west, and I knew they always treated the people of the east side bad, so I decided I would move to the east side and put my stakes down. So I went up, introduced myself to Joan Rowley, and I told her, basically, you know, I don't like the way y'all treating the people of the east side, and until y'all ready to treat the people of the east side better, stay out. Don't come over here. We don't want you. And I told her, I said, if it's necessary, I'll come up here and rearrange your office. And the police were outside the door. So they rushed in, grabbed me, threw me to the floor, and I was like, what are you doing? Well, you just threatened her. And I said, no, I didn't threaten her. I threatened her furniture. Same thing. Same thing.
Yeah, pretty much is.
Well,
Yeah.
well, when you're rearranging, you know, I can take a picture and put it over here or move the desk around, you know. But they say, no, we know what you meant. I said, okay, fine. And I looked at Joan Rowley. I said, I'll be back. So I went to jail. Cost me $75 to get out. And my bail bondsman said, where you want to go? I said, well, my truck's down here to City Hall. So he brought me back down to City Hall. I got out. I started walking to front. He said, where you going? I said, I'm going back up in there. Come on, Carr. So I walked in the front door. I told the lady at the front desk, go ahead and call him, tell him I'm back. And I walked up the stairs. They called her. He said, Brian's back. He's coming up. He's coming up. So I walked in the front, and I stopped in front of her office. And he said, yeah, he's right here. And I looked at her. I said, are you scared? She said, no, I'm not. I said, I don't want you to be scared. I just want y'all to do what's right. You know, aren't y'all tired of dogging people out? Won't y'all do what's right? And then I turned around, and I walked downstairs and come out, and police all hiding all around the corners and stuff. And I just looked at them and said, y'all pitiful. So I think about a week later, I was served with papers that I was banned from City Hall. So they told me that I'd called Eric Benson, was the city manager, and Eric Benson told me that I wasn't allowed up on the second floor. But I can go downstairs, pay my bill, go to court or whatever I had to do, see code enforcement. So that worked for 3 years. I didn't have to never go upstairs. So I'll go downstairs, no problem, for 3 years. Then as soon as Eric Benson retires and Gerald comes in, the code enforcement took my tree license and told me that I had $100,000 worth of insurance, and they told me they wanted me to have $250,000 worth of insurance.